Do-Rag Wisdom here, folks, and welcoming all of you to Earth Date Y2K 18.08.30, 68 days to the midterms. And will the Trump thugs still be in charge thereafter? Again, folks, sorry about the sunglasses. I'm just trying to give you a break from my dead eye. I turned 68 this month and find that the day of this broadcast is 68 days to the midterm. I only bring my age up because, out of respect for those who take the time to view me, I want you to know that I have some credentials in life experience, at least. I understand that 68 is still the latter day of infancy of old age, so I make it clear that I would never, ever disrespect the advice or the experience of the young. I was a school teacher, after all, for 30 years, 28 of those in the New York City school system. And one thing I prided myself on was my respect for the young. I am basically, at this age, a depressed person most of the time. But I do take heart from the fact that I never hated the young. And I have taken that attitude into my old age, thankfully. So I beg anyone viewing, I am just trying to give you all a heads up, especially if you're one of the younger set, to give you some insight into the mistakes my generation made, and to help you to get off that destructive merry-go-round of bad behaviors that has kept our species from taking the next step in higher evolution. The election that placed the postulating tumor of traitor Trump into our lives was 2016. That was the most important election in our country's history. We were deciding between a corporatist Democrat who would ultimately respect our rule of constitutional law, or a quote-unquote strong quote-unquote man, fascist, not in quotes, who would not. We were warned back then how important this 2016 election would be. We were warned that the election of a traitor Trump would see the nomination of extremist Supreme Court and lower federal court justices, kangaroo justices. We were warned that a traitor Trump regime would threaten our rule of constitutional law. We were warned that a traitor Trump regime would undermine every positive thing President Obama accomplished, that he would attack abortion rights, that he would attack LGBTQ rights. He would make sure that we continue to poison our wounded planet. Yet, most stayed home that vitally important election, 2016, and allowed for this invasion and occupation of our country by religious, extremist, fascist oligarchs. With the inclusion of another extremist kangaroo justice of the Supreme Court in the name of Kavanaugh, much of the agenda we were warned about is coming to pass. Kavanaugh will be confirmed to ruin our lives for at least 50 years. And with the help of the rest of the kangaroo right-wing justices on the Supreme Court and on the lower federal courts. We are told again that this next election, the next one, will also be the most important in our history. And already I'm hearing, every election's important, every election's so important. If only we took some things a little more seriously. In the 68 years I've lived on this planet, I beg each and every one of you to believe that diligently. This election, coming up in 68 days, is absolutely, without a lie, the most important election in our history. The most important. The most important in our history. This country irresponsibly elected a fascist totalitarian traitor to the highest office of our land. Now, if we have learned our lesson, we must get to the polls 68 days from now in force and vote these traitors out. We may have mistakenly voted a creep into our White House, but now we have a chance to show his enabling traitorous Trumpist party that in this, our midterm elections, we refuse to reaffirm that mistake. And do not make a mistake again with the belief that this is not as important an election as all the pundits and Michael Moore are telling us. Every GOP running from sea to shining sea is a Trumpist. I say this because no candidate has rejected outright this traitorous creep unless they are playing political games in liberal territories like the GOP Trumpist creep running in New Jersey against Menendez. Make no mistake, this, the most important election of our republic's democratic constitutional existence, is our last chance to save our republic from our enemies, from Russia, from all totalitarian, authoritarian systems, and from right within our country right now. An enemy sitting right in the midst of our precious Oval Office. It does not belong to him. It belongs to us, and we, in 68 days, must vote him out. The Trumpist traitor creep out. Full disclosure. I've lived in New York City since June of 1974. I've known about bullies my entire life and knew exactly where Traitor Trump was coming from when I first became aware of him back in the late 70s and early 80s. I have always maintained an intense hatred for this creep. I promise you all that unless I am dead, I plan on being at those polls the first thing in the morning 68 days from now, and I am taking my wife with me. She works a 100-hour a week, which impinges on her right to vote. How does she work a 100-hour week? That's another story. Election day should be a national holiday. No ifs, ands, or buts. I intend to vote Democratic blue all down the line, including for Max Rose, who is running against Trumpist Dan Donovan in my local Staten Island and South Brooklyn. I wish that I could vote too for a Steve Barrison if he was running, for example, of the Bay Improvement Group in Sheepshead Bay. But his district has been gerrymandered in favor of the Trumpist. At the age of 68, I've learned how bullies operate. If we allow the Trumpists to win this November, the most important election in our nation's history, 68 days from now, get ready to experience the following gorge rising events. 1. Get ready to see Trump pound his chest like the savage naked ape that he is. I only wish that when he's doing that, he was this fake special effects creature created by Ray Harryhausen. 2. Get ready to witness, even before the midterms, because the Trumpists are flushing him through, the confirmation of religious extremist, kangaroo, supremacist court injustice Brett Kavanaugh. 3. Get ready to gasp in disgust over the firing of Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller, and the death of the investigation into Trump collusion with our Russian enemies and other matters. 4. Get ready to see a visit from Trump's boss, Vlada shit Putin. And ready that vomit bucket when you see that the two of them are arm in arm viewing Traitor Trump's military parade. 5. Discover the end of newspapers as we know it. 6. Get used to more and more mobsters, child molesters, and vulture capitalists in our lives. If we allowed for a Trumpist victory in our midterms, we've affirmed our affinity to gangsters in our government. Real gangsters. In light of this election, when will this traitor Trump fiend authorize, like that they win, assassination on Fifth Avenue in New York? And no one will care, right? 7. Get ready for global climate catastrophe while the Trump mob fiddles on a raised Mar-a-Lago artificial 500-foot plus plateau. 8. Get ready for the worst religious extremist fascist agenda promised by Devin Nunes if the traitor Trumpist creeps win. 9. And get ready for more and more children to be locked up and separated from their parents. Get ready for more and more children and adults to be shot by gun maniacs. Get ready for another hurricane with thousands of more deaths ignored by the racist fascist Trumpists. These and many more images haunt me because 68 years of life has taught me that anything horrific in the human species is possible. And this thought, and many thoughts, are the fire burning my ass every day that this creep is in charge and his religious extremist creeps, that the traitors are in charge. It's burning my ass every day and will keep burning my ass as I run to the polls to extinguish this fire before my country and this planet is engulfed in more and more overpowering flames. The shit you smell on every single ballot, smell it, is the Trumpist name on it. Because every single GOP maggot running, and I said again, they're not a GOP anymore, they're the Trumpists. They're all Trumpists, all of them running. Recognize that. Unless they have verbally excoriated this Trumpist creep, they running in November are all backing him. So the shit you smell once again on every ballot, wafting up, is the Trumpist name on it. There are 68 days left to the midterms. Will the Trump thugs still be in charge thereafter?